Hello, friends. Welcome back to our monthly community conversations. I'm your host, Adela Hitel, and we're really excited this month for you to be here with us. Let me start off by saying we are missing a few members this month because everybody's a little bit busy with their lives and things are going on. So what I would like everybody to do is send a lot of good blessings, prayers, and love and compassion to everybody who's going through something right now and let them know that we're here for them. All right, let's get into the business before we have to get into the fun stuff. All right, so really quick introduction. My name is Adela Hitel. I'm the founder of Project Human, affectionately referred to as Think, a new way to think. I'll be your moderator for tonight, and thank you for joining us for our 2025 monthly community conversations, where we are meeting online. These are online events where we discuss key themes important to our organization and mission. Each conversation includes a brief introduction to Think, information and resources related to that month's theme, and an opportunity to discuss and learn as a community. Disclaimers. We are a peer-to-peer organization. We are not medical professionals. If you are in a crisis, reach out to your local mental health resource or dial 911 for immediate assistance. For national suicide prevention, please dial 988. We are recording and live streaming tonight on our tonight's event on our YouTube channel, and we will be posting it on our broadcasting on our Artists Within podcast as well. So if you do not wish to be on video, please take a moment to close off your video, mute yourself, do all the good things. We'll be using tonight's conversations to promote and raise awareness about Think's organization and mission. By participating in our Zoom meetings, give us permission to use all and any video content for promotional purposes. Seth, I need you. This is why I'm not great at this. All right. So our volunteer, Jen, and I, my sidekick here, are co-hosting tonight. And we will open with our perspective, Think's perspective, and definition of what structure is, because we're talking about building structure this month and how structure is meant to give you support, not limit us or imprison us. We will do it in a creative we're going to do a creative visualization exercise and then talk through some scenarios on how we might each bring more structure into our day-to-day life. If at any time during the call you have any questions, please add it to the chat and we will read them as we go, or add them to our comments. Now, because I'm the moderator and the clicker and the buttoner and all this on the other end, I may not get to the comment right away on our YouTube channel, so I will respond as soon as possible. But please leave it and engage with us. We would love to have you there. A couple of things that I want to let you know. Stay till the end of it, because at the end we're also going to share with you a one-page roadmap to functionality, and I'll share what that means and how that looks a little bit, and what the need, requirement, and want is, and how you build the bridges between all of that. And that's the start of building a structure from within and into the community. All right, let me get our people on this call. So let me introduce our guest, my co-host, Jen. She's on our call today. Also have to welcome our guest, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining us. I have to give a huge shout out to Jen for another month of knocking out a script and an exercise, visualization exercise. Oh my goodness. Visualization exercise. That's really a cool way to engage your ability to think about how you can see something in your mind and then build it forward into actual reality. And she's just been so fantastic in helping me really create these monthly community conversations, these MCCs, for you to be structured, to be on point, and to be where they need to be. So I just had to give you that huge shout out, Jen. So there's that. So before we get into our next thing. All right. So Think's perspective on building structure in our lives. In the last few months, we've talked about volunteering, building community, connection, and compassion, all of which can act as a bridge to help us build relationships and support structures with other humans. What we want to focus on in this month is building the structure within ourselves, okay? The word structure in itself might sound simple. It might even sound cold or edged at times compared to the words of comfort and resilience that we are used to hearing out here. But it's actually an incredibly powerful word. When life feels overwhelming, unpredictable, or heavy, structure can be a gentle anchor, a solid stepping stone when we navigate marshy bogs in our lives. Guys, I'm speaking. I got it. Words are coming out. Structure is not about rigid. is not about being rigid. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about creating rhythms and routines. And it's about the rhythms and routines need to be really about the things that you can do, not something that you invent in your head and think that you can do, but actually you can achieve. Rhythms and routines that apply to your life. And structure can help you regulate your nervous system, and it can help your brain feel safe. I know that when I started building my structure, my own personal structure of humanity. And when I was working on the roadmap to my own functionality, working on what I need, where I'm at in my survival or living, what's required of me to do to get there, like what are my non-negotiables, what is something that's so solid that'll never shake the foundation of who I am, and what do I want out of this life. And that was a really big question to ask. But these small daily routines and finding a rhythm, almost like a dance, and your favorite song where you know it beat by beat, that's kind of like your day is, and finding it to be able to function. And it can reduce a lot of decision fatigue, right? So like if you don't know what you're doing every day, if you don't know where you're going, what you're going to do, how you're going to get up, and you don't have a set one, it really causes a lot of anxiety because it's a lot of choices. It's a lot of input coming in, and you don't have a way to structure it to actually create some kind of a great output for yourself. It can build self-trust. That's one of the great things about structure, is it builds the trust from within you. I didn't trust myself to even come in and have these conversations. I didn't trust myself to build an organization. I didn't trust myself in any shape or form to do any of this, but I knew I wanted to. Now I'm so like, the trust in me to get it done is impeccable. I like, it's done, period. And I know I can do it. I trust myself to show up. I trust myself to keep my word to myself, be committed and disciplined into that action, where before the structure of that sentence, accountable, disciplined structure, would have sent me into an overdrive of anxiety, because how do you do it? It can also interrupt those emotional loops we just talked about. Overwhelmness, anxiety, this level of feeling like you're drowning and you can't control anything. When you have a rhythm and you have a system, it really allows you to flow. Like I said, it's like a song. It's like a perfectly orchestrated song, your favorite song. Every tune, every piece is done. And some things might be a mistake you find in there. Some things might not work some ways, but there's a rhythm and there's a way that it is done. And that's kind of how I apply my daily structure to my life. And if that helps you think of it that way too, so it's not so grand, it's kind of like that song on repeat. What's the one thing that you won't get tired of doing, that you can alternate and change and create a little bit of that way? And most importantly, structure is about kindness. It's about kindness and compassion to yourself, because it supports growth without struggling with it. You don't have to struggle to win in this life so hard. Like, everybody struggles. We all struggle. Life is hard. But you yourself personally don't have to put yourself in a prison of struggle, because you don't have a structure designed for your own being. And our whole mission with everything that we do is for you to be able to create that for yourself. So you know what's solid. You know what can't be shaken away. And you know that it becomes self-compassion in motion, that no matter what happens, nothing can keep you down. You will be kind to yourself. You will give yourself grace, and you will realize you're a human being, but you're capable and you're able, and you will, and it's done. So I hope that you can relate to some of these benefits, and maybe something you learned out of this, out of the structure or what it means. And either way, we have a fun little visualization that Jen is going to come in and talk about and share with us and walk us through, so that we can understand what this whole concept is that we talk about. Now, with that note, Jen, is there anything you'd like to add to that portion of it?
Yeah, definitely. I think creating positive association with structure is the healthiest first step. Where you mentioned decision fatigue, um, just having structure, routine, um, tasks that we know we can complete and trust ourselves to complete can be diverting, especially for those of us who might get stuck in thought spirals, anxiety, frustration, fear of moving forward, feeling frozen in place. By simply exercising some kind of repetitive pattern, whether it's going to pour yourself a cup of tea or to meditate for just 5 minutes or breathe deep or to go and wash the dishes or walk around the block. You can pull yourself away from those intense emotions by giving yourselves those tasks.
Redirecting
Um,
yourself.
Totally, totally. So I want to give us an activity. I'm going to walk us through it. I'm going to put up a visual in just a second. And what it's designed to do is to help begin building that positive association with structure, and exploring at least one new way to invite more structure into our lives. And the activity offers options. I love options because we are all different people and we need structure in different ways at different times for different reasons. And our activity has three options for visualization. I'm just going to put this up real quick so Daniel can see, and also for anyone who is viewing the YouTube right now. Um, I'll go ahead and read through it for anybody who's just listening. Um, I want you to think of these as options. You don't have to do all of them. I just want you to pick one that feels right for you, and you're going to visualize it. You're going to be present with it, and we're just going to kind of be here together in this visualization for a couple of minutes. So the three options for anyone listening, the first is building a tower of strength. So you're thinking of like a stone castle or a tower in a large building. And the theme here is to focus on inner resilience. So you visualize, you imagine you're building a tower. Every level of the tower represents a strength that you have gained: courage, patience, creativity. You can feel the structure's foundation. You can feel it settling beneath you, being really stable, firm, solid as stone, and you build upward. Just think of this as something, nothing can shake this tower or unsettle you while you're in it. The second option for the visualization is called crossing the bridge to calm. And the theme here is moving from chaos to clarity. If you picture a beautiful bridge, you can design it however you like, see it stretching out before you. On one side of the bridge is overwhelm and noise and chaos, and on the other side of the bridge is calm and clarity and peace and maybe even quiet. And as you walk across the bridge, you leave the noise and the chaos behind, and you're stepping into this place of grounding and peace, and nothing can shake you in your place of peace. You can see everything there with clear perspective. The third option for this visualization is called assembling a safety nest. The theme here is emotional security, and the visualization is building yourself a nest of support. Think soft, velvety blankets, bedding, cushions, plushy, squeezy dolls, maybe a onesie, but every material in this nest is giving you security and comfort. It represents kindness, it represents creative expression, boundaries, free time. This is your place of safety, and you can return here whenever life feels unstable. So I'm just going to give us about 20 seconds of silence. I would love for you to pick one of these three visuals and just be there in your mind. Again, Tower of Strength, Bridge to Calm, or Safety Nest. And I hope that's been enough time for you all to take a couple of deeper dives into each of those, whichever you chose. But I would like to take a moment right now to hear from at least Adela and Daniel, and then I'll speak for myself, what you chose and how did imagining that in your mind make you feel, and what might you take away from this visualization activity?
Daniel, since you're our guest, would you mind?
Sure. Yeah. I chose the Tower of Strength. I have always kind of seen myself as kind of like a pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of person and focused on inner resilience. And I really like the idea of building a foundation and then building upon that. Um, and I like the idea that the structure, it doesn't have to be perfect at first, right? I have guys that come to work for me and they want to try to do the best job, and I always tell them, like, look, just learn the way that we do it first, and then you can find a way to improve upon it later. And I like that idea of just find something that works for now, and then you can perfect it later. You build upon that, and through that, you'll find that peace and that inner clarity to be able to pull yourself together and feel that peace at home. I really like the idea of the Tower of Strength personally.
I love
That's
it.
awesome. How about you, Adela?
So for me, so I will say I've always been the tower of strength. From growth to everything, it's always been that. I've had come to America, survive a war, all that stuff, be the oldest of six kids, do the whole 9 yards of never show weakness, and you're the boy of the family kind of deal, and you're not. And so it's a really big like thing. So my power of strength has always been that. And I've had to learn how to cross the bridge to the calm for real. So my the second from chaos to clarity has been one of the things I've worked for the last 2 years. I took a year of understanding what my war meant, understanding what my emotions meant when they came up, and understanding what the chaos meant. I would sit in it, I would look at it and walk across it from where it was at, and actually literally imagine the cell I was in and the depths of darkness that I stayed, and then I saw the light. And every day that I would repeat the same step of getting up, taking a breath, brushing my teeth, washing my face, getting dressed, doing my dishes in the morning, creating this routine, I got closer and closer and closer to the light until one day I was almost there. But then at that light, more chaos comes, right? You're so enveloped in this chaos that you don't know that if you cross over into that light, all this work you've done, you don't know if you'll be back at the beginning of that darkness. So it's like very, very scary. And I remember having that moment. I took my hair up, took my scissors, chopped it off. It was like a really chaos moment. And I was like, what did I do? What did I do? But I know that. I remember sitting there in the darkness going, but if I step over into this light, I can't see anything. Like, I can't see what's going to hold me. I can't see what's going to it's just light. It's just bright light from darkness to light. And in darkness, I at least felt a foundation. I felt a foundation of violence, felt a foundation of fear, foundation of neglect, foundation of just objection to my existence. And in this light, it's an acceptance of all of that and then some. And to be there now, when I stepped into it and over it, the calm that sits on the other end of knowing that if nothing else works in my life, if nothing else goes well during the day, I got up, I brushed my teeth, I washed my face, I put my clothes on, I made breakfast for my son, I gave my husband a coffee, I got up, I took my dogs for a walk. I did that. Like, I did that. That is the level of like calmness and on your daily level, like, what does that mean to you? So when we talk about structure, when we talk about these, it's not about the world. It's about these moments that can ground you. And as you move into your emotional security, which these, by the way, Jen, great building of it, amazing. But these building blocks that she's built, it starts with understanding your inner resilience, as Daniel mentioned, and knowing and accepting it, then moving to that calmness, and then really building that emotional security within yourself. So it's really cool. And so I was there. Now in my emotional security, everything is just kumbaya, I'm a delicate flower, nothing can touch me, it's great, it's, all that. Doesn't mean I don't have my days, but it's having that moment of really understanding your existence, your structure, no matter what. I can get up, I can take a breath, I can brush my teeth, I can wash my face, I can put my clothes on. And then the rest of it is, as we said, self-compassion in motion. You're moving and giving yourself grace that you're still waking up and breathing. So that's mine.
A very poignant story of your journey towards clarity. I would love for folks listening and for Daniel and for us to think of these as tools, not not only a life path, but as a tool that you can return to. When I think of crossing the bridge to calm, I think of my temper. I am very self-critical, and I can get very frustrated when I'm not in control of a situation. And my temper will flare, and I'll be in that mental state of noise and chaos and need separation, need to get that perspective. And so for me, the bridge to calm is an exercise that must be repeated because I will always find myself back in the chaos at some point, and I need to walk across my bridge, find my calm, look back, get perspective, maybe see from someone else's eyes, maybe see myself in a gentler light. But these can be tools. So, um, again, we're not professionals, but I did some psychoanalysis research on these themes before offering them to everyone. And I would like to just maybe give you kind of like a fortune telling of if you chose one or the other, what that might mean. If you chose the tower, which our guest Daniel chose the tower, um, it can support you in that every level that you build in this tower of strength represents your inner strength or a survival trait that you've built and developed over time. So your courage, your patience, your creativity, your sense of knowing, these are self-built structures, and they're things that you can attribute to yourself regardless of what happens in your life. That can't be taken away from you. You will always have mastered those things. You will always have that as your inner support system. So you stack your internal resources, as it were, to create a durable emotional foundation for that tower. Um, Often, when we panic or have anxiety or frustration and we suffer from distress, we feel like we're starting from zero and we're like fighting, just we don't. But the tower reminds us that we have a foundation of strength and capabilities and accomplishments that we can launch from, and that we're never starting at zero. So this reinforces our self-trust and self-agency. You built all this already, you can keep building on it. For Adela and myself, we chose the bridge, how it supports us as a tool. Chaos is on one side, clarity or perspective on the other. These are emotional states anyone in our community can relate to. Moving forward and transitioning from one to the other can feel like a joke or insurmountable or absolutely not even possible at times. The bridge offers us a visual structure to think about a transitioning. Yes, you can't turn off the chaos right away, but you can walk away from it patiently, get perspective, get some space, be calm, maybe go to your cave, but you can walk across it. You can transition away from the chaos. And that bridge gives us a feeling of something being stable and transversible. You can walk it. It holds us even when emotions are turbulent until we can get to that other side, that place of clarity and peace. And it mirrors how schedules or support systems, which are hard versions of structure, can hold us steady as we navigate those emotions. For anyone joining us online who may have chosen the safety nest, the nest is a self-constructed emotional support framework, and it is built on intentional choices. You must set your own boundaries. to protect yourself. You must show yourself self-kindness and all of those soft things that comfort you there. And you must have a support system, whether that's tangible things or people or books or music or rituals that you go about in your day, like routines. These things become repeatable structures that you can return to and sink into like a safety nest when you're feeling ungrounded. So it's been a great pleasure to share these visualizations with you and to give us an opportunity to maybe explore in our mind's eye a way of seeing structures as tools to help us when our emotions or lives are a little chaotic. So let's talk about skill building, some ways that we can add structure as a tool to help us navigate when emotions get tough.
Can I just add one
Just
thing? You too, Daniel. Both of us have a
yeah,
thing. So
go right
really quick,
ahead.
I was just gonna say all these tools in your toolbox, as you guys have heard,
Mhm.
these toolbox kits that you have for emotional, body, mental strategies you have. Think of these as Jen said, also as they all work in unison together, and one might be needed at one level more than the other, and one might need to be corrected in one way or another, but they all encompass your whole being. It's not just about isolating to one. I want to let you know that again, and this is for maybe furthermore in self introspection and really, really diving into how you're building yourself, but they all work in unison, and one feeds the other, and one builds the other. So if you have really strong strength, as we mentioned, Daniel, in the tower, but maybe not so much, for me, it was emotional stability at all, or security. How do you build it to that? So use them as full toolbox of building blocks on top of each other, not just as an isolated, like one thing or one not. And we'll make this information available to you too, but think of it that way as you move forward. I wanted to add that in there. Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, and just to kind of build on what you're saying, in this exercise we kind of focus on one tool that of something that kind of comes to us in our just what do you think of real fast, right? But each one of these tools may be useful in different situations. You might find yourself navigate, gravitating towards the safety nest in a different situation than the one that just immediately comes to mind when you start thinking about these three different tools. So all three of them certainly could be very useful to each person in different situations. It might not necessarily be the one that you think of today that you gravitate towards. It might be something else in another situation that would be useful to you to try to keep in mind and might help you out in a different situation.
Thank you very much for saying that, Daniel. It's it's what we're hoping to offer our community as well as ourselves. Any kinds of tools, any kind of rituals, things that we can trigger our mind to think of when we're in intense emotional situations or just rough situations in life where we might need to trust ourselves and our inner strength a little more, or we might need to remind ourselves that we can walk away and get some perspective and get some peace before going back to the chaos, or just to protect ourselves and wrap ourselves in our own safety blanket as we re energize from intense experiences. These can be multi-use. They don't have to be one time. So thank you. Thank you very much for pointing that out.
Thanks for doing all the
So
awesome work to build
Adela,
it.
Adela, I think you are going to teach us the emotion to action flip skill.
My favorite thing ever: move, 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 move. It's about redirecting your body. your mind into your body to make something out of a negative. It's really like the simple thing of this is that. So let's talk about what emotion to action flip means. And we're going to do a building activity or skill building activity. All right. So sometimes the hardest thing to tackle and the biggest hurdle to having a productive or successful day is not the chaos outside of us, but the internal battles we're having and we're facing, right? So the feelings being inside of us, being trapped, being trapped by our own emotions, of being trapped by anxiety, overwhelmness, stress, debilitating inability to think or move. It really becomes a way for us to not be able to process in any way when that happens. So it does, but doesn't have to paralyze us, right? And so we have to create a tool. We have tools, and we have to create and train ourselves to shift our perspective and shift from the inside out into a physical action trigger. This activity that we're about to do teaches us an emotional grounding tool, the emotional to action flip. Whenever you feel something going on, how do you take it and turn it into positive, into a tangible thing you can hold, taste, touch, feel, smell, and redirect all of your emotion, all your senses into that. So everyone take a second, because this requires you to take your hands and some piece of paper if you have it, or a journal or anything like that. So I'll give you a second to run around and grab something. This is part of connecting the mind, body, and soul. And if you can't do that, then we're not moving forward. So connect it. There we go. We got a connection. I've got mine. Mine says work care connection, but I've got a lot of mine. So here's the instructions. We're going to think of an emotion you commonly feel that gets in the way of your daily life. It might be anxiety, regret, sadness, apathy, anger, overwhelmness. Take a second and write that word down. Write that emotion down. Think about it for a second. Think about how it feels. Now, next to that emotion, think about and write down one small physical action you could take to help you shift gears when you feel that emotion, okay? For example, if you're feeling anxiety, you might want to take a 5-minute walk or a breathing video. For me, when I start to feel anger or overwhelmness, I go and fold laundry, do the dishes, because I like a clean house. So at least then I'm productive. And I'm not. I already knew this answer. I already got my answer, Jen. So we're going to give you guys, I already know. The moment if I'm sad, I go and sew. If I'm not happy about something, I got my emotions have a physical activity in which produces a tangible creation with my own hands. And that's what we're trying to get everyone to understand, that it comes from the inside out, produces a tangible physical thing you can touch, taste, and feel connected and grounded to this existence. So it'll take you a second to do that. And while we're doing that, I'm going to pop on the screen the roadmap to functionality, because it goes with everything that you're doing while you're thinking about it and looking to see where you're in your need. And I'll pop it on the screen. And it is in our chat as well. Bear with me. I have it. Roadmap. Boom, there we go. Roadmap to functionality.
I want to encourage anyone doing this activity, and Daniel as well. The physical action that we can do when we feel a disturbing emotion has nothing to do with fixing it, making it go away, banishing it, or invalidating it. It's not about that. It's about like controlling yourself. When you feel controlled by a feeling, how can you use a physical trigger to not be controlled by it anymore? How can you get out of your own head? So that might help people write down something that they think might completely zonk them out of that crazy emotion.
None of this is to say that we don't have them, we don't experience the emotions that are happening. I think the problem we've had our whole lives, or even with mental health in the situations is that we've avoided the actual emotion our whole lives and avoided the process. So we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to, as you said, redirect it or not allow it to control us. So when it happens, say it's happening, I'm not in a position to communicate this way. I'm going to go clean the dishes right now. it's happening though. I'm angry. I'm not in a good place. I am angry. And I need to go wash some dishes, and I need to not be angry anymore. But it requires you, as we mentioned, requires you really looking in yourself and seeing what your emotion is, acknowledging it, claiming it. Guys, it's a part of us. It's a human experience. But then actually being active in how to build yourself for the better, to not be controlled, and having that self-control, self-discipline, so that you can be accountable and responsible for the consequences of your life. Okay, so now that we did that, all right, and we talked a little bit on there, we mentioned that. Does anybody, Daniel, do you want to share what your word might be, or your process?
Well, actually, I have a couple. So I'm in aviation, and in my work in aviation, I do a lot of testing, and a lot of times we encounter emergency type situations. And the number one thing you mentioned, overwhelmed, and that is a huge word in my life, in my work. A lot of times I find myself completely overwhelmed, trying to get my head wrapped around things that are happening and what I need to do. And the big thing that I found that helps me out with that is I have a checklist of sorts. I have a mental checklist as well as a physical checklist that I go through, and when things really start to pile up, I just resort to that, and I say, okay, what are the things that I need to be focusing on right now? What are the steps that I need to go through to try and disengage the emotion that I'm experiencing in that moment of, everything's coming down, things could go really bad. What do I need to do? And so this is where you kind of pull yourself back from that for a moment, and you say, okay, I can only control what I can control, and these are the steps I have to take. And so first I'm going to do this, then I'm going to, so on and so forth. And once you engage yourself in that, you start taking chunks out of the problem, and then the whole thing becomes much less overwhelming. And that's how I found dealing with the feeling of being overwhelmed, is just taking that step back, slowing yourself down, and taking methodical step-by-step approach to the situation. And that kind of helps you get my head wrapped around the larger problem. Also, my other one is, a lot of times when I'm sad or anxious, I go for walks. I go for a lot of walks. And I talk to myself a lot on these walks. And depending on how anxious or upset I might be, will depend on how far I walk or how fast I walk. But that's the thing that I do, that where I process a lot of things that happen in my day or in my life, or whatever. That's where I solve a lot of problems. Some people solve them in a shower. I solve them on walks. I go for a nice long walk, and I talk to myself, and I engage with nature around me, and that's how I sort myself out. That's how I pull myself together. So yeah, either way, it's about slowing yourself down, really, because I mean, I
Yes.
have to take time out of my day to do that and kind of separate myself from the problems, whether I'm going for a walk or whether I'm trying to complete a checklist. And you're pulling yourself back and taking a step towards just, how do I handle this? How do I deal with what's in front of me, to right now, a little bit at a time, and work yourself towards it. Then the whole thing just kind of becomes better.
That's great. And as you were just saying about the idea of pulling yourself back and slowing down, it hit me really hard as I'm looking at our computers and our phones and everything set up. We're not a processing system that way. We're not designed to be a code inputted process. Every day something new that pops in, we have to reevaluate, relearn, we have to go back to the basics. So having a basic action plan for yourself of what is the basic. I was also thinking of we have a fire escape plan. We have a plan for this. What is our structural plan for when we're not in our place of optimal existence? How are we navigating that and taking that time? Because we don't value that as an important piece of our time. Again, we're so fast paced, as you mentioned, that slow down, because it requires you to take time, and it's not something that the world necessarily is advocating for.
Daniel, you may not give yourself credit for the maturity that you have in doing the emotional flip with an action. You know through trial and error that going for walks is your space for thinking. You've given yourself permission and safety to speak to yourself in these things without judgment, without worrying what other people think or if someone sees you or hears you. You've demonstrated self-awareness of how to give yourself that distance and space. And for members of our community who may be in different levels of experiencing those anxieties, those regrets, those panics, those sadnesses, maybe apathy, overwhelm, depression, if they are not so mature in their path and knowing what works for them, the emotion to action flip tool um, is like a first step. It's what can you do right now to at least get yourself out from under the thumb of this very poignant emotion. Um, my words that I wrote down are regret. I often kick myself for missing out on certain opportunities. Sometimes I suffer FOMO. Sometimes I feel like I've failed because I didn't go out and seize the day quite enough, and I could have totally done it better. And I get spirally, like just thinking these horrible thoughts and beating myself up for what ifs. And I wrote down that I could jump up and down because you can't be beating yourself up when you are literally bouncing up and down. And I thought, how could I shake my body, in a jarring kind of way that's just
Yes.
like, hey, get out of here. Get out of here and maybe get more into here. Maybe remember that you're a physical being.
Yep.
If you have enough energy in your head to beat yourself up, go pound it out somehow. Maybe follow Daniel's path and go for a walk. Um, I personally suffered from a lot of apathy last year. And it was very, very hard for me to get out of that space. And when I would suffer from those feelings of apathy, I would do yoga because I found that I store a lot of my negative emotions in my body in different places. And that by gently moving my body and taking these stretch poses or these relaxation poses, I started to key into the fact that I was a physical being and that there might be stored traumas in my muscles and tissues, and it helped me get out of that numbness.
I want to add to both of your points. The thing that we all see, not seems, the thing that we all know and we keep talking about but we're not doing enough of is the actual connection to the body, the physical aspect of our being, because our mind and our emotions are so consumed by what the world and outside is, that the physical doesn't get enough of the activity to express the energy of there. The energy for us in these nowadays is in anxiety or anger or any of that is an adrenaline rush, a cortisol rush. And Jen mentioned stored emotions and stored trauma. That is, cortisol stores in your muscles, you guys. It stores so deep into it. I have been working on my body for 15 years. I just last week had a trigger of release in my quads that I couldn't walk, and I cried for 2.5 hours because the emotional release. And I get deep tissue work. They'll tell, like, I am, because I believe in that connection so hard. It is the key to understanding our physical existence here, because the world, it's so stimulating, and to unstimulate it and to unsensitize it from that is difficult. Our body stores it, and we don't care enough for this temple, this home, this body that stores all of our existence. It's really that important. So all of these actions, all of these tools that we've given you in these conversations, we really, really hope that you start to see yourself as an important physical existence here that has space, that has value, that has place And it requires for you to figure out how you function, how you move, and what works for you in your daily life so that you can optimize it to your best. And as Jen mentioned, one of hers of regret of missing out, spent that my whole life. I survived a whole war to be sitting here going, I should live every single day. I should live every single day. To be in such high stress situation of my own accord going, again, back to the basic. As Daniel said, I got up, I went on a walk, I took a breath, I moved forward. I did that today. You can accomplish so much. We're doing it. But knowing that basic step and having that as your grounding, that is your structure. That is key. And jumping jacks, moving your arms, flailing, hugging yourself, learning how to hug yourself. Like, have you ever hugged yourself, you guys, really quick? Do this with me. Have you really hugged yourself? Like, I need you to both, like, really hug yourself. Daniel, hug yourself, hug yourself. Right. If you guys are not hugging yourself like you would hug someone, everybody tells me I have great hugs. I had to learn how to hug myself. You hug yourself in a way, and that means you're stretching your body now, you're connecting your body. So if you're ever in a place where you can't hug yourself, all these tools will come back to you in that. So great points on that. And I really appreciate you guys sharing your vulnerability in that and sharing these, that somebody might hear it and say, hey, I'm in that same boat and maybe I could take that and use that forward. Or I have a question, let me reach out and see how I can navigate this, because that's what we're here for with this community. Okay, let's get into the last resource that we really want to take you away with all of this that we build upon this. There's something that you can start today, using it today. You can download it on our website. It's in our chat right now, and we'll share this with you guys for all of you joining it. It'll be in our description box as well. But let me pull this up for you really quick, my slides. There we go. So it is in our chat, Daniel, for you to pull up, but I have it pulled up on here. But I want to share this I'm going to run through it really quick because it is self-explanatory, but I want to just define a few key words in there so that maybe you'll be able to take it and navigate it in a way that'll help you. So there's 3 tiers to this, as you guys can see the theme, 3 tiers to this. There's a need, there's a requirement, and there's a want. Okay, a need there's 2 steps to that: a survival or a living. A need of surviving is, I don't have food on my table, I don't have a way to get to work, I don't even know if I'll have a job. Survival need. Okay, you really have to understand where your state of being is in that space. And then you have your living. I'm living great. I have insurance, I have a house over my head, I can afford food, I can have conversations, I can show up, the luxury to even have a car, I'm living. It's great, okay? I can do these things. So you differentiate where you're at. Then you go to the step number 3, which is want. Well, what do you want? If you know where you're at in your need, what do you want? Well, I want a really solid, peaceful, stable, structured life in my life. I want to exist knowing that I did the best I could, and I'll achieve all my dreams in between that. Great, that's my want. Now, what's required? This is that bridge that is the invisible bridge that you can't touch, you can't taste, you can't feel, like you can't see here, but it is required of you. It is discipline, commitment, accountability, responsibility. It's showing up. It's your values. It's your morals. It's your non-negotiables. It's your basic core structure of your value. Because when you know what that is, you'll understand what you need in your need and how to get out of it. And you will take the appropriate steps and the appropriate measures, talk to the appropriate people, spaces, places to get what you want. And you'll hold yourself accountable because you'll show up for yourself. And it literally starts on the small scale of every day. This is your big magic dream. But every day, what do you want every day? How do you want to wake up? How do you want to have your day? How do you want to end your day? The same steps apply. What is your non-negotiable for your daily life, for your daily functionality? And you build that roadmap. You build it. You create it. You can design it however you want. But to start, you have to know what your need is. Are you surviving like most of us are right now? Or are you living like most of us are right now? And then you work upwards. You use all the tools in the toolboxes that we're offering you, that your community is offering, that your friends, family offer, and you build. So that is your roadmap to functionality. And it's something that, again, you work through, you ask, And it starts with 5 minutes a day. It's not about every day. It takes a while for you to build it, you guys. The towers of grandness have not been built in one day. You won't be built in one day, but you have to give yourself the opportunity, the grace, the space to not only build yourself, but to also fall back down and fail, as we call it, or as I like to look at it, every day that I don't do it right, and I'm just looking at it as a new way for me to have figured out to do it better the next day. Like, it's not about failing. I just didn't do it good today. Okay, cool. I'm going to do it again the next day, and I'll see where that little attitude adjustment, Adela, could have been the greatest way for you to win, but you had a stank attitude in the middle of coming up there, and you said, I don't want to do it anymore, and then it went downhill. Okay, we'll get back up to that hill again tomorrow. You know the attitude's coming. Fix the attitude at that point, and then go down the hill. So it's really coming into the nitpick of the self of seeing, like, how can I make my life and my structure be so that nothing on the outside controls me but me. Anyway, that is our little chat on that.
For anybody who's just listening, maybe, as an audio in the background, the Roadmap to Functionality resource that Adela has been describing is a one-page, easy to digest resource, and it has value in helping users identify what their needs are from survival to thriving, to consider what they very much want in their life, what they want their life to be like, and decide on ways that they can incorporate structure, personal laws, non-negotiables, and daily practices that through dedication and action towards achieving the desired goals, those users can use to reshape their reality. So it's not just about functioning, it's about thriving. And it is a free resource to all, developed peer-to-peer. We are not professionals. These are peer-to-peer resources we develop from what has worked for us and for others that we've come in contact with. We encourage you to look it up, download your copy.
All right. Any additional thoughts to our conversation today before we conclude? Anything else? Anybody want to say anything else before we get into the business? We're winning. That's what we're going to say. All right. So we're going to get into, I got to put in some plugs here, you guys. Couple of things are coming up. We have a couple events we're going to be vendors at November 2nd. We have a community event. We're going to be here for our community. And then November 8th, we're going to be participating at, Jen, help me out. I forgot now because it was written and I lost it.
It's a Zumba charity event called Honoring Our Heroes.
There we go.
That is being put on in Jacksonville on November the 8th. And we can give you sign-up details if you have an interest in participating.
Absolutely. So we'll need volunteers for that. And we'd love to have you come out and take a look and participate in the actual conversation of that. It's an important one to have, so we'll be vendors there. And then we also have our quarterly mental health day coming up on November 15th. It's going to be at the Beaches Library. Please, please, please come check it out. It is open to the community. It is free to the public. It is from 11:30 to 3:30. And between 1 and 2:30, we're going to have a forum discussion where we're going to be asking questions of the community and of our speakers and our panel. What is mental health mean? What does it mean in policy and in resource and accessibility? So we'll have that conversations. We're reaching out to our council members and senators to see if they'll participate in that. We seem to be getting some good response and feedback, so we'll see what happens there. But please come out because we need to have that conversation together. We'll have you there, and we'll have some vendors that will provide you resources as well for that. Last but not least, we have our Krispy Kreme fundraiser still going on through the end of the year. December 31st is the last day. So if you or your family members, let me pull it back up because there it is. I had it ready. If you, your family member, or your community programs, churches, mosques, synagogues, or any business would like to get some donuts to enjoy, a good refreshment and some sweetness, we'd love for you to help us out. Fink is selling them at a normal cost of $15 a dozen, and with a 50% proceed give back to us to help us move forward and with our initiatives over this next year. So this is an awesome opportunity to satisfy your sweet tooth, okay, while also helping us and helping the community with helping us fund our art-based toolkits, these community conversations to bring to you for free, our events, and so forth. So please click that QR code that's right there or scan it while you guys are watching and listening. And if you are on our website, it's on there as well. We've provided all the information for you. And if you have any questions, please let us know on there. So there we go. All right. All right. We are about to end our October meeting. I think this was great, Jen. You are such a great, she does so fantastic for me, you guys. So fantastic. Not for me, it's for you. I couldn't do this great. She makes me so great. She makes me so great. I make it pretty and on presentation like Megamind, and then she comes in and she's like my minion who's like my brains behind the stuff and comes in and goes, here you go, Adela. I'm like, thank you, Black Mamba. And then I go and have an attitude, and she comes in and goes, go cross your bridge. And I go, yes, ma'am. So it's great. I love her. I love it. So we hope that you guys got everything and got a lot of information, got some kind of good feedback for yourself that you may or may not have considered before. And also, if you found one of our words or one of our stories or any kind of word in not just tonight, but any of our conversation that you feel like you can hold on to and ground to, please do so. That's why we're doing these. Yes, we're going to share with you the resources. Yes, we're going to share with you the toolkits and all the stuff. But at the end of the day, if you hear something that resonates with you, that really makes you pause and think, please hang on to that, delve into that, allow yourself to be moved by it, because if it will help keep you here, let you know that you're worth the effort and let you know that you're loved, this is why we're having these conversations. So we know it's hard to leave safe spaces. And as we close out our call, we want to say thank you for showing up and being part of our community. Next month discussion will be on what it means to show up for yourself. We've talked about showing up for others. We're going to talk about showing up for yourself and for others, obviously, but really for yourself. So please check out our website at www.phinc-ing.org or reach out to us via email at info@phinc-ing.org, info@thinking.org. I really appreciate you guys. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Jen, thank you for this amazing I just lost my train of thought. Thank you for another amazing community conversation that you've put together and helped make happen. Thank you for everyone, again, who support us, all of our subscribers, all of our followers. You have been amazing. Thank you for downloading the podcast and everything else in between. We really love you. We appreciate you. Until next time, see you in a while.